Hey there, shooters! The gun world never really stands still. Models come and go, companies rise and fall, but every so often a firearm that once seemed gone for good makes a roaring comeback. Some of these designs were shelved because of corporate blunders, others faded as trends shifted, and a few were flat out buried when factories closed. Yet here we are in 2025, watching them sell by the millions again. Why? Because real shooters never forget a tool that worked. Whether it's the smooth pull of a revolver that set the standard, a battle rifle that carried troops through history, or a shotgun that earned loyalty in duck blinds and patrol cars, the great ones always find their way back. If you're ready for a straight shooting look at these legends reborn, smash that like button, share this with your buddies, and subscribe to Firearms Standard. Let's dive in. Browning High Power. The high power earned its place because it married a high-capacity single-action design with good ergonomics at a time when most pistols were low-capacity. For decades, it was a service pistol for scores of militaries, prized for its blade-like trigger and slim grip. Production shifts, cost pressures, and corporate changes eventually halted Belgian-made runs. By 2018, FN/Browning had stopped continuous manufacture of the original high-power line. That absence created a clear market gap, and several makers filled it. Turkish firms produced faithful clones aimed at shooters who wanted the traditional layout without collector prices. Springfield Armory introduced the SA-35 as a modern homage that keeps the ergonomics and capacity, but adds contemporary features and quality control aimed at today's buyers. Importantly, FN itself returned to the field with a redesigned FN high-power platform that modernizes the takedown, ergonomics, and controls while keeping the lineage intact. Price-wise, Turkish clones often retail around $450 to $550. The Springfield SA-35 typically sits at about $700 to $750, while the FN High Power commands a premium, usually $1,200 to $1,300. Thompson, Tommy Gun. The Thompson's place in American small arms lore is secure. It was a combat and law enforcement tool in the 1920s to 40s and an icon on movie screens ever since. Full-auto Thompsons are a regulated historical piece. Civilian demand drove a long tradition of semi-automatic reproductions that mimic the look, balance, and handling of the originals while meeting modern legal rules. Auto-Ordnance, then later continued under Car Arms ownership, has been the primary name keeping the Thompson alive in a semi-auto, non-NFA legal form. Those modern Thompsons preserve the profile and much of the feel, but use closed-bolt operation and dimensional changes to comply with regulations. Car/Auto-Ordnance offers several variants, from historically styled carbines to simplified versions that emphasize reliability and parts availability. For buyers, the modern Thompson is rarely about stealth or compact utility. It's about owning and running a piece of history that functions on contemporary ranges. Typical retail for semi-auto versions starts at $1,600 and up, depending on finish and model. Colt Single Action Army. The Colt SA. Defined an era, simple, strong, and easy to service. It became the default sidearm of an entire culture and stayed in production in various forms for generations. As manufacturing shifted and demand cycles changed, exact vintage Colts became collector pieces. So makers of quality replicas stepped in to give shooters an affordable, usable version of the design. Uberti, Italy, is the best known of those makers. Their reproductions are widely respected for attention to period detail and reliable fit and finish. Uberti builds faithful SAA pattern revolvers for modern customers, often offering different barrel lengths, finishes, and chamberings while retaining the classic single-action lockwork. Colt itself has also continued to offer SAA variants through the years, and other firms produce licensed or near-identical models for shooters who want an authentic feel without having to chase a vintage serial number. Uberti replicas generally run $600 to $1,000, while Colt factory single-action Army models, true premium items, starting around $1,700 to $1,900 and climbing higher with custom features or finishes. Colt Python. The Python's comeback was never just about nostalgia. When it first rolled out in 1955, Colt wanted to prove it could build the Cadillac of revolvers. It delivered with hand-fitted lockwork, a ventilated rib, full underlug, and a double-action trigger that felt like it was sliding on glass. For decades, it became the dream gun for revolver shooters and a statement piece for collectors. Then came lawsuits, market contraction, and Colt's retreat from the consumer market. By the late 90s, the Python was gone, and used prices soared. A clean-blued Python could command eye-watering sums, and the gun became a pop culture icon through movies and shows. In 2020, Colt finally reintroduced it, this time in stainless steel, with beefed-up internals designed to handle modern .357 Magnum loads without the timing issues that plagued some originals. Having run both old and new versions, the difference is clear. The new lockwork is sturdier, the trigger is still smooth, and accuracy remains top-notch. Purists miss the deep royal blue polish, but stainless offers corrosion resistance that makes sense for a working gun. At $1,500 plus, the Python sits in premium territory. Yet demand hasn't slowed. Gun shops report back orders, and online chatter praises its return. It's not just a wall hanger, it's a shooter's revolver that doubles as a piece of American firearm heritage. The takeaway: when craftsmanship meets genuine demand, even a decades-old design can dominate modern sales charts. Remington 870. No shotgun has ridden in more patrol cars or duck blinds than the 870. Launched in 1950, its steel receiver, twin action bars, and modularity made it a natural fit for hunters, homeowners, and law enforcement. Over 11 million units rolled off production lines across its lifetime. Then the cracks appeared, literally and figuratively. Remington's push for cheaper express models led to rough finishes, stiff actions, and spotty QC. By 2020, after bankruptcy and lawsuits, the 80's reputation looked tarnished. Shooters who grew up trusting it now warned friends away. Arms, the new custodians of the brand, relaunched the gun as the FieldMaster in 2021. They leaned into what always made the 870 special: smoother machining, better finish, and improved reliability. I've run the FieldMaster, and it feels like the old days again. Pumps cycle smooth, feeding is consistent, and barrels swap without fuss. Starting at around $530, it's a practical buy that brings the 870 back to its roots. The only ongoing gripe comes from lefties frustrated with the crossbolt safety. Still, for most shooters, the modern 870 is once again the Swiss Army knife of shotguns, capable of handling upland birds one weekend and home defense the next. Its return proves that trust can be rebuilt when function meets price. Ithaca 37. The Ithaca 37 is proof that design sometimes matters more than marketing. Introduced in 1937 and based on a John Browning concept, it used bottom ejection for true ambidexterity and a slick all-steel build. That design made it popular with left-handed shooters and anyone working in dirty, wet environments where side ejection could mean grit in the action. Financial turmoil hit Ithaca over the decades, shutting down production multiple times, with a big pause in 2005. Yet every time, new owners revived it. Today, under Ohio ownership, the 37 is back, looking much like it did in the mid-20th century. It's not modular, not tactical, and doesn't try to be. Instead, it's durable, simple, and reliable. The single loading/ejection port makes topping off different, but also keeps dirt and debris out. I've run one in duck blinds and clay fields, and the cycling is buttery smooth once broken in. At about $895, it's priced above budget pumps but below boutique scatterguns. Among those who know it, the 37 is almost cult-like. Enthusiasts on forums call it the shotgun you've never heard of that you'll never want to give up. It won't win over folks who want rails and gadgets, but for shooters who care about longevity and simplicity, it's a gem that refuses to die. Winchester Model 70. Few bolt actions stir debate like the Model 70. Introduced in 1936, its controlled round feed, forged receiver, and three-position safety built it into the rifleman's rifle. Hunters swore by its dependability. Then came the 1964 redesign, where Winchester swapped to a push-feed system and cut corners on finish. That move alienated the base, and pre-64 rifles became collectibles overnight. When Winchester closed its New Haven plant in 2006, it looked like the end. FN Herstal Salmish stepped in, retooling with CNC machines and restoring key features like controlled round feed. The revived Model 70 brought the heritage back, now with tighter machining and modern tolerances. On hunts, the Model 70 still proves itself. Accuracy is excellent, triggers are crisp, and durability holds up in rain, snow, and dust. My own trips with one chasing whitetails ended with clean, ethical shots at range. Some shooters nitpick about Portuguese assembly, but results speak louder than origin stamps. Starting around $1,200, it's not the cheapest bolt gun, but it carries history with it. For hunters who want a rifle that bridges tradition and modern performance, the comeback Model 70 does the job. It reminds the market that when execution matches legacy, loyalty returns. M1 Carbine. The M1 Carbine isn't just a firearm, it's a story in steel and wood. Born in World War II to give troops more firepower than a sidearm without the weight of a Garand, it filled a niche for paratroopers, medics, and officers. Lightweight, handy, and chambered in .30 carbine, it followed U.S. troops from Europe to the Pacific and even into Korea and Vietnam. By the 1970s, it was replaced, drifting into surplus racks and collector cabinets. For years, shooting one was mostly about nostalgia, but modern reproductions by Auto-Ordnance and others revived it for new generations. At around $1,200, the replicas look and feel close to originals, right down to 15-round mags and slim wood stocks. Shooting one today feels almost surreal. At just over 5 pounds, it shoulders effortlessly, recoil is light, and accuracy is plenty for practical ranges. The .30 carbine round won't compete with 5.56 or the 7.62 NATO, but that's not the point. It's about connection to history. Forums are filled with shooters swapping tips on mags and parts, keeping the carbine alive as a functional tool rather than a museum piece. For collectors, it's a time capsule. For shooters, it's a reminder that lightweight utility rifles existed long before pistol-caliber carbines became a trend. Its survival shows how heritage and handling can keep a design relevant decades later. Conclusion. These guns are proof that shooters never really let go of a design that works. When a firearm earns its reputation, whether through craftsmanship, battlefield history, or decades of dependable service, it leaves a mark too deep to fade. That's why when companies bring them back, the demand is instant. People want tools they can trust, but they also want to hold a piece of tradition that still has teeth in the modern world. These resurrections remind us that firearms aren't just products. They're part of an ongoing story that spans generations. So now I'll throw it to you. What's your favorite comeback gun and why does it still matter to you? Drop it in the comments, smash that like button, and subscribe to Firearms Standard so you don't miss the next deep dive into gear that proves staying power beats passing trends.